Hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. Infidelity is one of the toughest setbacks for a relationship to overcome, but it can also be the catalyst for positive change. Today on rSpace, we learn that you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. Up first, a whirlwind romance. My story as a married young man. I'm mostly posting this for my own sanity, and so I can get my story out there, as I don't have anyone in my life I can share it with. Opinions are welcome, but that's not why I'm here. I, 23 male, met my wife, 24 female, when we were both 18. It was honestly a whirlwind romance, and it sucked me in. We met online, had an amazing first date, and it just felt right. I was troubled over a no-contact breakup I had, but she didn't feel like a rebound. Everything was great. We had great sex, my family loved her, and all was good. She ended up moving in with me temporarily after 2 months of dating due to other circumstances outside her control, and there were no problems at all. She fit into my life great. We got engaged at 6 months, married a little after a year together at a small ceremony, and life felt sweet. She had baggage that I was aware of, but not to the extent as I had previously thought. She had trauma from a parent passing, as well as clinical depression. It was managed with medication and wasn't a big deal. Almost 6 months pass, and it quickly becomes less sweet. We were involved in a motor vehicle accident that resulted in her requiring back surgery. It took a huge mental toll on her, worsening her depression. While her surgery was successful, it still left her with significant pain. I was the best husband I could be. I accompanied her to every doctor's appointment and physical therapy session. I helped with lawyer stuff for the lawsuit stemming from the accident. I held down the finances as the only working person in the relationship. Sex became difficult for her to enjoy due to both her depression and being in physical pain during. We ended up only having mediocre sex very sporadically for the next year or so, maybe once every 2 weeks, sometimes once a month. At this point, a year and a half into marriage and a year post-accident, she brings up the idea of open relationships and threesomes, something we had talked about on occasion but never deeply discussed and considered. She wanted to start with a threesome and said she would feel comfortable doing it with someone she had already been with and suggested her ex. I should have taken it as a sign, but I didn't. She starts hanging out with aforementioned ex, and I didn't object as I don't like being a possessive person and trusted her. After a week or so, I get a random Facebook message from someone saying they saw my wife with the ex and that they were doing stuff. No further elaboration, no other messages. I asked her about it, and she says the girl who messaged me was just obsessed with her ex and was jealous they were hanging out. I did what I always did, which was believe and trust her. A month later, while we were laying in bed in the morning, I watched a random YouTube video that related to cheating somehow. She starts crying and confesses that she ended up having sex with her ex and that she couldn't keep it to herself anymore after a month of deceit. I believe it was genuine disdain for her own actions and guilt, not just an act. She swore up and down that they only had the sort of contact the one time and that it was very dissatisfying. I tried my best to forgive her and not come to terms with what happened. She was my best friend. I had to try, but it was clear that she used the threesome discussion just to have another romp with her ex. She didn't want to have sex with me often, but it was worth physical pain for her to go out of her way to screw him. That was now 2.5 years ago. Her depression deeply worsened, has crippling guilt and remorse over her actions. I feel entirely detached from her, and I'm only with her because I feel it was the right thing to try and push through. I did have a night of bad feelings and read her text to her best friend. It was clear that although she only had sex with him once, they had done things short of having sex a few times before it that she never mentioned. She has one friend. My family is more of a family than her own to her. Can't work because of her back, and has had suicidal thoughts in the past. I felt that if I left, she would not make it, and I could not live with myself if I did that to her. I couldn't uproot and ruin her life. Wanted a few times to have some sort of relationship to distract me from it all, but nothing would ever really help. And that only serves to make me a cheater too. I just don't understand how I could have been so naive. I've never been able to tell anyone because it would bring repercussions to her, and I can't talk to her about it because it would shatter her, and I can't ruin her like she did me. I feel broken. Update. I told her how I felt. I told her about all the hurt, confusion, and despair I felt. She nearly passed out when she finally understood how she silenced me and separated me from support. We are going to try and have booked a counseling session for the both of us. I spoke with a good friend of mine about it yesterday for the first time ever, and I've never cried in front of a friend before then. He helped me come to the conclusion that if I don't feel differently after a few months of counseling, then I'm going to need to distance myself. I feel guilt, I feel regret, and I feel shame. It doesn't feel like my life anymore. Our first community reaction comes from David Walker 0009. You need to prioritize yourself. If you are miserable, end the relationship. She has no one to blame but herself. T. Charcu says, never light yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Another thought from Director 20530. She is no longer your concern. Contact a lawyer and start the divorce process. If she can screw her ex, she can take care of herself without your help. Don't forget to secure your finances. Transfer your direct deposit to an individual account and change your passwords. One more thought from Maybe Someday 086. You can't live your life for her. You can't be second to her because of her choices. Yes, she's got health and mental problems, but she'd still have them with anyone else. It can't be fixed with you just exiting and unhappy. She needs to take every step possible to get into a better place. You can't do it for her. Any mental health problem is an explanation, but it's not an excuse. Your mental health is at stake if you stay. It's 2.5 years and you're not doing any better. Nothing has changed, so it will not get worse. She also wasn't truthful and still hid things from you, so there's no way for trust to be rebuilt. She has friends and family, so she has options, and it's irrelevant to the situation as to how close she is to them. Why do you need to be her secret keeper when it stops you from using your own support system? Talk to someone. Friends and family that care about you aren't interested in the picture perfect. They want to know you're okay and help if you're not. Please get help and do whatever will bring you peace and happiness. You're so young and have a lot of years left. You need to decide if they are going to be as bad as the last two. I think your friend is right, OP. You're giving it a shot, and that's the best you can do. If both you and your partner want to take the necessary steps to heal from an affair, it can be done, but it's going to be a long road. There has to be honesty. More specifically, there has to be honesty and transparency in why it happened. This is the hardest step and will largely dictate whether or not you'll both be able to move forward. People can make poor choices at times. The question then becomes, does that poor choice and/or symptoms now have to dictate the future of a relationship? The answer largely depends on the motivating factors behind the affair. Underlying unmet needs in the relationship, poor communication, attachment difficulties, and antiquated gender roles can all be impetus for an affair. Infidelity is very complex. There's a lot of depth and complexity to why people might cheat and how you can find a way back to each other. Why did this happen? Where was the breakdown? What was it in our relationship that ultimately caused you to have an open door for someone else to walk into it? Having that insight in your relationship is going to be important. Give OP some of your best advice in the comments below. Next, don't mix business with pleasure. I should have known. This is kind of a wild ride. I, 28 female, work with this guy, 34 male, and I've known him for 2 years, and he was having marriage issues. He and his wife were separated at the time. They have 2 kids. She had cheated on him multiple times, and he had had enough apparently. So that being said, he approached me and asked if we could hang out. And I said, sure, why not? So, from that moment, we talked every day, rode to work together, everything normal couples do. For 9 months, we were together. It was long enough to say I love you and cry on each other's shoulder, and it was great. I thought I had found the perfect man. I trusted him so much. All he talked about the entire time we were together was honesty and trust. He told me he's been hurt, so it'll take time, but I stood by him. I helped him move into his new apartment. I checked on him at work every day, asked if he needed anything all the time. I took care of him and treated him with respect and gratitude because he was so kind to me. We went through a lot together, and just about a month ago, I noticed a change in him. He was short with me and quiet. I always felt like I was bothering him when I would check on him at work. I always asked him what was wrong, and he would turn it around and say, well, what's wrong with you? So I would drop it. I felt insecure about our future then. I felt sick. I knew something was going on, but I couldn't place it. The phone calls became less and less, and I would call him all the time just for it to go to voicemail, or he would call back hours later. So he told me he wanted to take a break. To me, that's not a good sign. But he was going through a separation still, and he said he needed to focus on his kids. I understood that completely and even told him his kids were his number one priority. I don't fault him there. How could I? I knew what I was getting into. So I agreed, and we didn't ride together anymore, and we didn't hang out or have sex or anything. But one weekend, he came over and expected us to have sex, and we did. so I assumed we were all right. The break was over? But I was wrong. He went back to being cold and quiet towards me, less touchy, and he said he loved me that night. I was confused. We went to work. I met him there, said, "Hey, what's up with the whole thing?" And that day, I was fed up with him and the way he was acting. I went to lunch with him and I confronted him about the break again. It's still a break, right? He told me yes, officially a break, not a breakup. So I was upset and left him there alone. I went back to my desk and I didn't have much to do, so I just sat there with a blank stare. My friend, 21 female, came up to me and asked what was up, and I told her, guy trouble. She said, "Okay, anybody I know?" I said, "Yeah, that guy over there, 34 male, and I pointed him out, and she gasped. I said, "Yeah, we've been together for 8 or 9 months. She smiled and she talked to me about him. I never would have thought. She said, and I smiled at her, "Yeah, he's a great guy. He's very kind and he's a good dad too." Well, she leaves and goes up to him, says something, and me and the guy don't ride together anymore, so it's time to clock out, so I leave. He calls me an hour later and asks if I set him up. I told him no, I just told the truth. Well, it turned out he had been cheating on me with my friend, 21 female, and she didn't know about me. He told her we were just friends. He had no feelings for me and that I just gave him advice. So he told me sorry and he was scared because I was too good to him. Doesn't make sense, and he wouldn't give me a time frame, but yeah, I feel stupid and used. Me and my friend, who I don't blame at all, I believe her because of her genuine reaction to my telling her. We talked a lot and I got a lot of information from her, and he has lied so much it's crazy. I'm mind blown. He told her all kinds of the same things he told me. I yelled at him. I cussed him. He was using me this whole time. I'm sure he never even loved me. I told him we're done. I can't be with him. I feel sick for having trusted him. I blocked him and deleted his number. I want nothing to do with him. I'm just trying to get past the overthinking part and start again. I hate him for making me feel this way. If you've been cheated on before, why would you do it to another? He ruined my trust in people, that's for sure. All I know is, I dodged a bullet. Our first community reaction comes from straight out of the 70s. I'm seriously doubting that his wife was the problem or serial cheater in that marriage. Next comment from Kitchen Ferret 2752. You did the right thing by blocking his number. Make sure you avoid him at work or get another job. Don't go back to him. He might have even been lying about his ex-wife. Maybe he was the one cheating on her and she found out. It takes time to heal, but you will be fine. The OP responds, to make this clear also, the only reason he found out the jig was up is because my friend confronted him and he had no choice but to come clean to both of us. I was trying very hard to keep us together. I know now that you can't fix someone who doesn't want to heal. You can't force them. I asked what was he thinking, why, and he said he didn't know, that he had a problem. I feel he was using his kids and the break to cheat and lie to both of us. Just break up with me. He didn't even care about his kids, he cared about screwing. That's where he invested his time. But yes, I'm thinking it wasn't just his wife. I've heard her admit to him before that she's cheated on him during a conversation on the phone. But anyway, he's useless to me. I had to go to work that same night, but I went and smiled and didn't even look at him. I mostly talked to my friend who was majorly screwed over too. I apologized to her and we have a mutual understanding and respect, and I told her to be careful if you go back. Who knows what she'll decide. This is not your fault at all, OP, and thank God you found out before you started wasting any more time on him. He got caught red-handed. It sucks that you both still have to work together. That might make things complicated. You seem like such a good person and he took advantage of that. This guy sounds like a serial cheater. In the beginning, these types of people are often friendly, charming, and come off as non-threatening. They might start out making idle conversation, and some of them will openly discuss their ex-wives or marital problems. They begin to groom their intended targets by showering them with compliments, acting as a shoulder to lean on, or even playing the victim. They feed off of the chase. I'm so happy you got out when you did, and you're free to live your life without that BS cheater. What's your experience with serial cheaters? Lastly, we have our very own Tinder swindler. My coworker just showed me my boyfriend of a year and a half's Tinder profile. At the end of my shift, she came up to me to show me. I thought it was a nice gesture since if she were to have told me earlier, I would have been so worked up and unable to even think clearly. I left and immediately he came to my house to pick up. I confronted him as soon as we got in the car. We spend literally every day together, so I know he's not sleeping with these women. and he claims he doesn't even talk to these women. He just swiped because he likes the validation. He tells me he would never act on anything because he loves me and would never want to lose what he has with me. It's true, I'm probably one of the best things that's ever happened to him. He's apologetic and he's not really a liar, so I believe his story. But even then, it really hurts. He says he never even uses it, and it's just a game for him to make him feel better. I can't really tell if I'm being cheated on. I asked him to stop, but he and I were already back to normal, but I don't know. Thoughts? Was I cheated on? Ask a question, here's some answers. Dinkin'Flicka84 says, this happened to me and I believed his lies. Turns out, he was cheating the entire time. Brazen Tory chimes in, he made you look and feel like a fool in front of your coworkers. His so-called validation should come from having an honest, healthy relationship. Anyone who needs outside validation from strangers should not be in a committed relationship. Not convinced yet? Create a fake Tinder profile and give him some validation. Al Milano says, it's just a game? Yeah, Candy Crush is a game, not Tinder. Super red flag. Everyone knows what Tinder is for. UrsaPay24Y says, yes, he is cheating. Emotional affair is still cheating, and it always gets physical. He is playing nice because he got caught. If you're the best thing that happened to him, then there is no reason for him to be on Tinder. He is gaslighting you. I would check other social media out to see if you can find anything else. It sounds like the trust is broken, and you'll always wonder what he is doing. It is your decision, but I would leave him and find someone that you deserve. Puzzleheaded Ice445 chimes in next. If he needs constant validation from other women than you, does he respect you? Does he value you as much as you think he does? I don't think so. You're being naive. I'm sorry. You said it yourself, OP. You're the best thing that's ever happened to him. Drop that little monster and find someone who's going to worship the ground you walk on. Those dating sites and apps are built for one thing and one thing only. You know exactly what he's doing on there. Time to cut him loose. You be the judge. Thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Also, please let us know what you thought of today's content. Until next time.